What's up, everyone? Welcome back. This is Eric KJ4YZI with HamRadioConcepts. I'm sure you're aware, your followers that follow all my videos. I have one here, and this one's going to be a little bit different. This is going to be a world-class premiere for HamRadioConcepts. I got to say, this one might throw you for a loop when you see how I do this video. But to get to square one here, so I've been wanting to make these videos for a while because the names that we throw out as hams, or more experienced hams, are very confusing to the new ham. And a lot of people, I make a video about a Fusion radio and a Reflector, or a DStar radio and a Reflector, or I'm talking about a Hotspot or a gateway, and they're like, what in the world are you talking about, Eric? Or I have no idea what a Reflector is. I get that. And it sounds confusing. It's really not. And what I want to explain to you today in this video is exactly what we're talking about. If you're interested in getting into DStar or DMR, and you've heard of talkgroups and reflectors, or your YSF reflectors, or DStar reflector 30 Charlie. What is reflector 30 Charlie? Well, it's not that confusing. It's confusing the way it sounds, but it's really an interesting way of describing something that's very, very easy. It may not be easy to set up. These guys out there that have put reflectors on the air and have been part of that when the whole big DMR and Fusion and DStar boom happened, it took a lot of time and effort to put those repeaters on the air with gateways and get reflectors going. And you don't know how much it goes into making Reflector 30 Charlie operate all day long. But in this video, what I want to show you is, just for an example, this little hotspot I use, this could be a reflector right here. I could make this a Yaesu Fusion reflector right here. Maybe I can make this a DMR reflector or a DMR Talkgroup on the Brandmeister network. Maybe I can get this thing to operate like a DStar reflector. Maybe not. I think DStar is a little more intricate, requiring a little bigger of a Linux computer or a server. But the reality is, when you're talking to somebody on a reflector for Fusion, you might be talking to all those people through a little box like this. So don't let it confuse you. And there probably are way more elaborate systems out there. I'm not saying that they're all running on Raspberry Pis. The world does not connect across the entire DStar community with Raspberry Pis, but the option exists. It's not that much for you to beat yourself up trying to figure out and research all this. I'm going to make this as easy as possible. In fact, this video makes me laugh watching it, and I'm going to watch it with you guys together on this YouTube premiere that they gave us the option for as creators to premiere this, and we can watch it together and chat about it. But I'm interested to see what you think about how I put this video together, and hopefully in reality and seriousness it makes sense to you, so that way you have a little more confidence knowing what we're talking about, and you can go beyond that and make a little more knowledge for yourself and research and get the real brass tacks on what these things run and how they look. But this video should really make it a lot easier for you. So let's talk about we're going to make this title, what is a reflector / talk group? What is a reflector? Let's check it out. A once-in-a-lifetime impromptu Windows 10 free paint application session by HamRadioConcepts to try to break this down as free and non-creative as I can to help you understand, because that's why I'm here. But I can do a really good job on this program, so just bear with me, and I'll draw it right here in front of you. So, reflectors. All this talk about reflectors. Well, I'm going to draw it out so you can kind of understand how it works. Now, I have a couple images, and I'll try to do all this with just these 3 images and make sense of it. And you tell me when I'm done how I did. I'm eager to know what the comment section is going to look like. But besides that, leave a thumbs up for my effort. So in the year 2018, it started before that, but right now, how do we communicate across the United States or across the world on technologies like DStar, C4FM, Yaesu Fusion, or DMR, or P25? What do we use? We use internet. Right? Internet is the main key. Of course, like everybody says, when the internet goes down, you have nothing. We lose all communication with this DMR and DStar stuff. But yeah, but reality is, let's have a little fun with the hobby, not so gloom and doom, right? So I'm going to leave that cloud there for just a second. That is a cloud. Kind of looks weird, but here I am over here. This is me. And we're going to put me down here. And I have my little ID 51 in my hand, a little DStar handheld or my Yaesu FT2D or whatever I got. And I got to name myself or put a call sign. So we'll KJ4YZI. There I am. Okay? And I live in Florida. I'm in Fortland. So I want to talk to another person that's not near me. So let's see. Let's add somebody here. And I'll put this guy over here, and I'm going to flip him this way. And I'm going to name him, call him, let's see. Sorry, Bob. K6UDA. There's Bob over there in California, another YouTube guy, K6UDA radio. And he's on his D74 Alpha Kenwood DStar capable radio. Now, I have no way of talking to him on 2 meters. I mean, the possibility exists on sideband with ultimate conditions, but the average day, I cannot take my handheld by itself and talk to him in California from Florida. It's just not going to happen. So how would I talk with him? Well, here's what we'll do. We got a tower here. Locally to me, there is a DStar repeater. And we're going to call this repeater WA4TCD, Treasure Coast Digital Repeater. That is a DStar machine. So I still, if I'm talking to a repeater, it does me no good because I still can't reach him, right? I mean, we could have even another person here join us locally. We will copy him and paste him. And this, we'll call him, that's Jason from Ham Radio 2.0. Hope he doesn't mind. So let's say me and Jason are near this repeater. Like any other ham operator would know, you can use a repeater on 2 meters or 440 to communicate with people near you, given the distance of the repeater and signal propagation and such. I could talk in from my radio to the repeater, and it will come out, and Jason can hear me. That's a horrible arrow. And the same thing can happen with him. He could talk to the repeater, and it'll talk back to me. Okay, so I have a conversation right now through the WA4TCD repeater on DStar, together with Jason in Vero Beach, but we're still not able to connect to Bob over here. So how does that work? Well, like I said, internet. We'll break down a little bit. We have on the repeater, if the repeater in question is equipped, let's just make it simple, and we'll put this little box here, okay? And we will call that a gateway. And it's nothing more than hardware that takes your digital signal from the repeater, takes it out of the repeater and says, hey, that's going to go to the internet. I'm going to send that to the internet. That's all it is. Don't let the names scare you away. And in fact, you'll never even see a gateway if you're not interested. It's just there existing on a repeater to take your signal that you're transmitting into the repeater, if it's configured this way, and it's sending your signal to the internet. Okay, and this is the internet. So right now, my signal is going to the internet, but then where does it go? Because if it's just out there in the internet, what happens? Well, so that package that the gateway pretty much took your voice and packaged it up into ones and zeros and binary and digital data and zipped it all up, you know, and made it a digital package as an IP address and said, send this to the reflector. And the reflector here is, as I showed you, it could be anything. It could be a Raspberry Pi. It could be a Linux computer. It could be a little whatever. But we're going to call this reflector 30 Charlie, which is one of the most popular one of the most popular DStar reflectors, 30 Charlie. There's 001 Charlie or 01 Charlie. There's 78. There's all kinds of different reflectors out there. We're going to use 30 because it's pretty busy. So my signal and my data now goes to the reflector. What does that do? Well, me and Jason here through the repeater can hear each other, and both of our conversations are going through the internet to the reflector. If there's nobody there, can anybody hear us? Exactly. So over here, let's talk about Bob now. Over here, Bob might have a repeater, but we're going to change it up on his end. we are going to put, by Bob, we'll call that an open spot, little hotspot. Don't let the name confuse you. It's just a little hotspot. In fact, it's got a little antenna. And what it's doing is basically a little mini gateway, like the one over here. It's got a transmitter in it and a receiver. And basically, Bob can transmit on DStar to his hotspot. Okay? And pretend you don't have a repeater near. So his radio is transmitting to the hotspot. And his voice and his radio is saying, send my information to 30 Charlie. That's what the hotspot's doing. The hotspot is not there to make a repeater in your neighborhood. People have done that. It is possible, but that's not what it is. The hotspot's mine. Here's my hotspot. I'm going to take this with me. I'm going to drive all day and be on the radio and communication through the internet because the hotspot needs internet to work. So let's put another bubble here for internet. Well, that's a horrible bubble. In fact, we got to flip that around. Rotate. There we go. Okay. So here's the internet over here. So the hotspot is connected to the internet, like Wi-Fi or Ethernet. And Bob's signal is going in saying, hi, this is K6UDA. And his radio at the same time is saying, send his voice and his data and his GPS to 30 Charlie. That's the destination. The destination here is 30 Charlie. So it's going to take that, send it to the internet. The internet sends it up. The arrow should be black. There we go. And it sends it over to 30 Charlie. So now, right now, 3 of us are coexisting on 30 Charlie, which is nothing more than either a computer or a Raspberry Pi or something. Don't let the name scare you away. So now I have the ability to talk into this repeater. Jason can hear me as well. Goes through the gateway, through the internet to 30 Charlie. And Bob over here, because it flows this way too, it come out of 30 Charlie, come out of his hotspot through the internet, and go to his radio. Now he hears me and Jason on the other side of the world or the country. And then same thing. Now, let's say we have another person here. Let's say we're going to add another person. And we'll call him, we'll put him here, and we'll call him KV4S. Hey, Russell. There's KV4S, and he has his, I don't know what kind of DStar radio he has. We'll call it a 51. So right now we're just talking DStar. So Russell does have a repeater in range. So he is able to be in range of a repeater that is also connected, you guessed it, to the internet through a gateway to 30 Charlie. Drawing a blank here. There we go. There's the gateway, right? And that's going to the internet like this to 30 Charlie. Now, Russell can coexist with all of us because we're all final destination 30 Charlie. And there may be somebody I can't fit on this page that's in Belgium who says on his hotspot, his radio is set to 30 Charlie. And here comes Belgium, comes in there. So that's what's happening, okay? We're all coexisting on a Raspberry Pi. Or DStar is a little more elaborate. It might be a Linux machine, might be a server. It could be a lot of things. There's ways of doing this kind of stuff. So the same thing happens with DMR. And all we have to do for DMR to change this is erase this number, this name, and we're now going to call it a talk group. It's the same thing. Reflector for DStar, talk group for DMR, Reflector for Fusion, but it's all the same thing. And there are people that's Jason. There's a lot. You don't understand what it's like to be a YouTube guy. Comments coming all the time. So, anyways, that's the same thing. Now, for talk group, you may have a number like 3148. That's a DMR talk group. Okay, so now your radio is set on DMR. This is all, let's pretend this is DMR. And gateway wouldn't really be a acceptable word. We're going to call this, make it a little bit easier to understand the difference, we're going to call this a bridge. You may have heard of the word Brandmeister. Okay, we'll just call that there. And now that's the same thing. The DMR repeater is going through a Brandmeister bridge, and it sends it to the internet. It goes to talkgroup 3148. Bob's over here doing the same thing. KV4S jumps in on his TYT MD380. He's directing his communication with the radio to 3148, and the rest is history. And the same thing happens with Fusion. Fusion can get a little tricky because there's Fusion Yaesu Wires X functionality, which Yaesu wants you to buy their HRI 200 and with their repeater to integrate, but people have hotspots and their own Fusion reflectors, which I might have a Fusion reflector here shortly, so keep staying tuned. So, if I make a Fusion reflector, mine's not going to work with the Wires X because Yaesu wants you to invest in Wires X. So that's a little bit different. We're not going to get confusing with that. Long story short, if your radio is digital, if your radio is in range of a repeater or a hotspot, if your radio is set to direct to a talk group or a reflector, that's what's happening. It's the names that confuses a lot of people. But this is all pretty much where we're all coexisting. Now, keep in mind, this is one little, we're going to change this back to DStar. We're going to call this Reflector 30 Charlie, okay? But guess what? You can, there's tons and tons of them. We're going to copy this guy, and we're going to put him over here. Now, let's say you have another reflector. 001 Charlie, let's call it. A worldwide reflector. That's another popular one there. Okay? So 001 is all by itself. Coexists over here. And you could draw the same thing. So now you got repeaters that are connected to 001. You got people with hotspots connected. Maybe I don't like 30 Charlie. Maybe I never set my radio or my hotspot to direct my traffic to 30 Charlie. Maybe I set it to 1. So everybody on 30 Charlie is not going to hear me. An example would be, let's say I walked into the AMC 24 movie theaters. Let's say there's 24 movies going on at one time. I can watch one movie at a time. If I'm in theater 24, and Bob over here is in theater 5, well, he may be watching, I don't know, Halloween or Nightmare on Elm Street, whatever. If he's watching that, and I'm over here in theater 24, he's in 5, and let's say I'm watching, I don't know, the Yaya Sisterhood. I don't even know why I just came up with the Chronicles of the Yaya Sisterhood. I don't even know where that came up in my head. But anyways, so that's my movie over here. And there could be 50 people in that movie watching it with me. So we're watching that. Bob could be stuck all by himself watching Nightmare on Elm Street because nobody else wants to watch it in there. So Bob can get up and walk over to 24 and join us. The same thing could happen. Now multiply that by hundreds, and there's hundreds and hundreds of reflectors and XRF reflectors, and DCS reflectors, and XRX reflectors, and it's nothing more than just another cloud or another movie theater or movie screen added into that AMC theater. It's just another one. And they have their own conversation. They have their own movie on the screen. There's their own people listening and their own people watching. The same thing. Now you can go a little bit more than that. We'll draw another one here because now some of the Fusion reflectors and DStar XRF reflectors are cross-bridged. And how does that work? Well, I won't go technical as to what the pieces look like, but let me just show you exactly what they're talking about when you're talking about a constellation or a cross-bridge or cross-mode. What does that mean? So we'll go back to the drawing board, and I say that with a grain of salt. This is by no means any kind of authorized drawing board whatsoever, but you get the idea. We're talking about cross modes. Some people say, well, there's a bridge. You can get on the DMR to Fusion bridge or the Fusion bridge or the Constellation, whatever they call it. And you're wondering, now what is that? So in the beginning, with these three images, I'll try to explain this. In the beginning, when DStar was out first, and then we had DMR come out, and then we had Fusion come out, and everybody's like, oh my gosh, what do I do? I just invested in all this DStar equipment, but all my buddies are going to DMR. Or, wow, Fusion came out, but do I want to sell? I don't have enough money. Do I want to sell my DStar to go to Fusion because I can't talk to the people on DStar anymore? What do I do? Well, in the year 2018, and this came up probably a year or so ago, or maybe more, people saw that and decided to put the modes together. So what happens is, we're going to take this happy cloud again. We're going to copy him and paste him. And we're going to put him over here. Now, so you have, let's call this a reflector. Let's call this X reflector 004 alpha. Let's call it that. Okay? And let's say that's a DStar reflector, because it is. Now, we got to copy the happy cloud a couple more times. So let's copy him, paste him here, and paste him here. Okay. So you have X reflector over here. Oh, we got to have this little guy. We're going to call him, what should I call him? I will call him KM4UFN. Hey, Jim. So there's Jim, okay? And what Jim wants to do is, Jim wants to talk with his DStar radio to somebody with DMR. So what happens is, you have several other reflectors over here. We got to name them. So we'll name this one DMR Talkgroup 31123. And we'll just do that DMR. Okay, so you know what it is. Okay. Then we have one over here that's called YSF090. That's a DStar Fusion reflector, I think. And we'll call this one, what do we call this? We'll call it, how about TAC 310 on DMR, okay? Just for the sake of the video. So what happens is, in between all this, there may be or is a little box, or maybe not a little box, maybe it's a big box, maybe it's a server, maybe it's the size of a gas station or Walmart, I don't know. But we're going to call this an interface. And what this interface is doing basically is it is programmed and designed to take an incoming signal or one signal and translate it to others. So there are talk groups and reflectors out there that are intertwined and cross-bridged. So KM4UFN over here, Jim, he's talking in on his DStar radio. Okay? He goes in on DStar. It goes from this reflector into this interface box. And from this interface box, the magic happens. I guess I should put a star around that because that is magic, right? We'll just put a star like that. There's the magic, right? And the magic takes it and says, hey, this DStar, I'm going to turn it into DMR. And just like that, boom, it turns it into DMR. And it also has the ability to turn it into Fusion. And to turn it into DMR over here. So now what happens? If you had somebody like this, put the tower over here, and we'll call this guy, we'll call him KK4GGJ. There's Jan. Okay? So, here's Jan over here. And Jan is talking in with his DStar radio. Oh. He's talking in with his DStar radio like this. There may be an interface over here. Okay? Like this. The interface, like the one over here, takes it and turns it into different modes. 1, 2, 3. And it may be linked to 5 or 6 different talk groups or reflectors. It may be linked to 50 repeaters across the world. Because remember, if you have somebody that's got a repeater over here. Oh, we'll leave that one there. We'll copy him. Let's say you have a repeater over here in, I don't know, Texas. And that Texas repeater is set to 31123. Right? Let's say that's the default talk group for DMR on here. Anybody that talks into that repeater, or if that repeater is linked to this network here, so that means you could be on the radio on this repeater, and if you're tied into, say, I keep doing that. If you're tied into like this, you're into this one, which is into this, which is into this. So right there, somebody jumping on this repeater on, say, DMR would cross bridge and cross mode over to here, boom, out this repeater, going to Jan on DStar, going to Jim on DStar. This guy's on DMR. You may have somebody on Fusion over here. There could be a Fusion. That's a horrible color for a line. You could have someone over here that's got a Fusion repeater that's linked to this one if this YSF090 was linked to this cross mode. So you're just getting a mishmash. And these numbers may not represent, they don't represent the actual links. I mean, if you go to 31123, it is not linked to all this. And neither is TAC 310, I found out, I guess is linked to Fusion, a Fusion, or maybe the Alabama link. So you can go in on DMR and come out on Fusion and stuff like that. So that's what's happening. You get in here on the Fusion, and if this was linked to all these, you're coming out on DMR, you're coming out to this guy on DStar, you're coming out to this guy on DStar, you're coming out on this talk group 31123 on DMR, but you're going in on Fusion. Does that make sense? So a lot of fancy words. And again, don't leave negative comments telling me that I have no idea how this works. I'll admit to you, I've never seen a lot of this hardware. I've seen some of them. Our local talk group in DMR, those guys are experts. If you want to learn and keep up on the latest with these stuff, go to the Facebook page, Treasure Coast Digital Ham Radio. Those are the guys local to me in Vero. And they have digital university sessions where they have classroom sessions like once every other week at a college, empty college room over the summer, or libraries. And they have so much information on how this works. Those guys are geniuses. And they get these, they did have they designed a cross mode. So 31123 was linked to a DStar Reflector. So you had half the guys, half of us in the morning on DStar talking with half of them on DMR. There was a couple issues, and I want to blame it on the radios, or the people using it, not the actual hardware. But, you know, that's what happens. They develop the box, or they put one together from somebody else's design and linked all of us together. So myself, I like the authenticity of having a Fusion radio talking on Fusion and a DStar radio talking on DStar. If I want to talk to someone on DMR, I'll use my DMR radio. But I like the authenticity of talking on a Yaesu Fusion. So I do have all three modes. But somebody may have friends that are on DStar, and they have a DMR, but that DStar happens to be linked to DMR, and there's a way to cross mode over to it and come back out. So it's all done with these magic boxes, these magic interfaces. And if you have all kinds of information about this, put it on the comments section. Tell us what websites to go to and where to find this stuff and what to Google, so these people can learn also. But in a very generic form, this is pretty much what you're doing when you got a radio in your hand. All the people that used all their time and effort to put all this together, you're using it in your hand on a $200 or $300 handheld, and you're talking all through this, coming out the other end on a whole different mode. It really is pretty cool. Now, wasn't that fun? That was just me wanting to just get it out there graphically. You know, I'll work on that. I'll get something, you know, that's... I really don't think I need to be all bang, pow, boom with all these, you know, $10,000 graphics. I don't think I need that. But I hope you gained something out of that to where it makes a little more sense, so it's not so confusing. And if you did, whether you did or not, give a thumbs up, because I took the effort to make the video for you with you in my mind as my goal to help you. So give me a thumbs up on that. Share it if you need to. Show your friends. Show your wife, so when she's getting her ticket and she's like, I have no idea what the heck you're talking about, Reflector, what? Show her the video. Maybe she'll make sense of it. And maybe when I talk to you, I'll see you on the Reflector, and we can chat about some other stuff. 7-3, guys. Thanks for watching. You guys are the greatest. From KJ4YZI.